You know, as I continue to try to put this puzzle together, I'm kind of coming to a spot to where I think I'm painting myself in a corner. It's kind of like building a boat in the basement. Get it together and then I'm not sure how I'm going to get it out. I've put these slats on and I didn't put the sides on because I wanted access to the slats. Well, I've got these side frames to go on and all the bolts are inside. Oh, I may have to pull some slats off to get the bolts in. This is kind of the puzzle that I'm dealing with here. I've got my cross frames for the carriers. I've got those ready to go on. I have some uprights sawn out just in the rough form to go to these verticals. Hope I didn't get too far ahead of myself. So these are going to be my side frames that are going to go vertical. These four are going to be for the two on each side. They're going to be flush with the bottom of my frame. And then these four, I've got two for each side. These will actually carry those carrier rollers for the apron as it goes forward. I've got these at 1 3/8 thick, and I think I've got them about 1 inch long, so I can kind of fine tune those. I did take my old sideboards and kind of put them in place. I can see where the holes were that went to the vertical, so I kind of get those in position, trying to figure out what my overall length needs to be. So these are the holes that's going to take this vertical frame, and you can see the holes here where it was nailed, and it has a couple screws that attach the sideboard to that frame. So with this in that position, I can see that this sideboard is going to extend to about the front of these slats. So it doesn't stop at the frame, it actually comes out here, and it looks like about 6 inches ahead of this frame. And then the back end of this lower sideboard is going to come past the frame as well. It's going to stop about in this area. So I need a solid 10 foot and possibly even 10-1, and that's the rough length of these sideboards that I've got. So on these upright verticals that are bolted to the side frame, they're 2.5 inch thick, and they look like they're pretty parallel for about 1 foot. And then they begin to taper down to the top. And then these taller side slats, they have the carriers. They are the same 12 inches here, but they extend 5 inches below the frame. So I'm going to have 17 inches before I start to make that transition and taper toward the top. So I don't think I'm ready to put this transition in yet. I could come up to 12 inches, but I'm not sure what my overall height is quite yet. And then there is a top frame that goes laterally clear down each side. Has to blend in this as well. And I think it's going to be 1.5 inches square. So I need to figure out where that point of intersection is first. Well, the second sideboard is going to sit about in here, and it's going to come just above the second hole. Well, the second sideboard actually has a contour that's going to kind of shape around this beater assembly. So I'm just going to use this beater on the inside to trace this arc that I need. We're going to start right at the end of this board. You should be able to just draw an arch right here. I'd actually like this to come right out at this corner here. So I'm going to move this in a bit. Line that up just about there. That should be pretty close. So the second board should look just about like so. And then there's another top board that sits on top of this. just on the rear portion of the spreader. And as it sets on top here, it'll continue to follow in here somewhere. I don't know exactly what that shape's going to be yet, but this should be the back end of the second board. So this is the 10-foot one of my lower board. This should be the arc that I want on my second board. About so, I'm thinking. Well, it ended up on my bottom board being 7 3/4. That put me pretty close to the center between these two holes. And then the top board, I ended up going 8 1/4. So I'm 16 inches overall. So initially I was thinking I was going to be 16 1/2 with the 8-inch on the bottom and 8 1/2 on the top. That's why I wanted to wait till I got this actually fitted up before I got my final measurements for my side frames to come vertical. So there is going to be an 1.5 inch square frame that comes back to somewhere in this area. It doesn't come clear back to this iron frame here, but it'll set somewhere about like so. So that'll give me 14 1/2 inches underneath this top rail, and I have a 5 3/4 inch frame, and then I want another 5 inches extended down below that. So overall, I'm going to end up with about 25 1/4 to 25 3/8 right in there overall length for these tall ones. And then these front two that come flush to the bottom of the frame, I'm going to end up with my 20 1/4 overall length for these two. So this is where I might have the cart before the horse. I did take a pipe clamp and clamp these together to where they're pretty tight. I marked on each side of this hole to put the hole in the center to line up my upright frame. I want to be right in this area somewhere. I'm going to bump that up against my 1.5 inch top frame. Get this kind of clamped into place. Pretty square. So now the question is, I need to drill from the back side through the holes that are already in my frame to give me my hole location in my upright frame. I don't know if I have enough room between my lower apron and the frame. Kind of like working like a raccoon. Can't see it. Let's see if I can find the hole. There's my top hole. Pretty much just groping in the dark here, but it looks like I can get it in there anyway. That'll give me my placement. I can transfer it over and make sure I get centered on this side. Looks like I need some 5-inch carriage bolts. Well, that's kind of hammering blind. Well, that'll set the heads of the carriage bolt. I just want to make sure these holes are lined up. So actually, I think I'm going to take these off and paint them and the sideboards before I do the final assembly. But I think this is kind of the process for maybe the two long ones, and I might be able to get one short one, but I don't think I can get the front. You know, as I was drilling this second one, looking at this first one I did, this piece that makes contact right here at the frame, I would like to have that coated. So I was going to take this off, but the more I get to thinking, I think I'll just kind of pre-coat this area right here. So when I put them on, I can leave them on and I can finish painting this by just taking the sideboards off. These are enough of a bugger. I don't think I want to take them off again. I don't want to do the whole thing because then it'd be a mess to kind of handle. But I can pre-coat this, seal that up, paint the rest of it later. About all it'll take. And this will save me a little grief in having to take it off. Oh, I suppose I should take this one off and paint that little section too. Yeah, I like the idea of pre-painting these. So this next one up becomes increasingly more difficult because my apron, as it comes up to the front bolster, gets closer and closer. I think I can get in there, but it's really tight now. Well, that's the top one. I've got to lower this clamp so I can get to the bottom one. Well, being the absent-minded professor, I started to put paint on the wrong side, but then that's the right side. So this front one is going to be the most difficult because I can't get in behind this framework. So I'm going to have to pull slats off of the apron. So my upright is going to sit right about in here. So I'm guessing either these two or these two. I might do these two. Now the thing about these is the bolts come up from underneath. So as I release these and tap these bolts out, I'm going to lose the bolts. I'm not going to be able to reach up in there to put them back in. So I'll do this one and I'll do the front one on the right side. You hear those drop, but I can't get to them. Do the other side as well. Get my bolts here. There's my bolts, that's nice. These are the holes where my bolts need to go, but they're right up against this cross frame and these cross rods that I put in here. So I'm going to have to do this a little different. I'm not going to be able to get my drill in here. I have to kind of clamp my upright in place here. Make sure we're square. So what I'm going to do, I took a 3/8 bolt that I'm going to use, and they're a little extra long. So I put a tip on it, so it'll be kind of like a center punch. And I can put that from the inside out and tap it and put a mark where my bolt holes need to be. I'm going to have to drill that on the drill press. See if that'll work. And there's one mark there, my other mark there. That's right in the way of that brace. And this time I painted the right side. This is anything but convenient, that's for sure. We're gaining. There's one. I'm going to tighten it up so it'll help give me something a little more secure to tap the other one through. So most of the time when I see red on the wood, I think I've cut myself somewhere. Happens to be that I was mixing up with that wet red paint. I did take this 1.5" top square rail off because I wanted to clamp my sideboard securely to my frame, and that top rail was kind of in the way. But I have a piece that I had cut off that I used as spacers for these last ones. I'm not totally out of the woods on needing access on the inside. I have a shield here for this big drive gear that needs to go right here. And so these 2 bolts need to come from the inside out. And with all this apparatus here and rear axle and all that, I can't get in this way, so I'm going to take the placement of those 2 slats that I removed, rotate my apron back to where I can gain access first to this hole, and then rotate it back and get to this hole. And after I have these drilled and bolted in place, I should be able to rotate those slats back to this area, and then I can access underneath to put those bolts back in and re-bolt those slats in. So with my uprights in position, I'm just going to remove these sideboards and get these painted, and perhaps I'll do the sideboards as well before I finally do my final installation. So installing the upright framework on the right side will be the same as on the left. Second verse, same as the first. So I think you all kind of get a picture of this process. I'm going to go ahead and paint these upright stakes, get these right side installed. It's starting to come together. Appreciate you following along. Thanks for watching.